This time on the Highland Woodworker.
You want it to work, and you want it to work well and for a long time, and you'd like it to look nice.
Master woodworker Grant Batson's pipe dreams become a reality every time he goes into his workshop.
The pipe making was kind of a strange, out of nowhere transition.
We'll take you inside and show you how he makes these marvelous masterpieces. Plus,
now as long as you know that you're good down here and it's not going to move, then you can start ironing on this end.
Edge veneering made easy. Pop Wood's David Thiel irons out the details for us. Join us for these stories and more this time on the Highland Woodworker. Hello, I'm Charles Brock and I'm a Highland Woodworker. I just love coming to Highland Woodworking in Atlanta, Georgia. It's where I get all my fine woodworking tools and a great woodworking education. Pipe making has been around for a long, long time, but what we're about to show you aren't your grandfather's tobacco pipes. These artistic masterpieces are from the hands and creative mind of Grant Batson. We recently spent the day with Grant at his Tennessee home and workshop just outside of the Music City. And did I tell you, he spent years making beautiful guitars. Here's our moment with a master, Grant Batson. Hey, Grant Batson, what a pleasure. I've been a fan of Batson guitars for quite a while. Just a beautiful instrument. Now, there's something missing though. Doesn't have a hole.
At first glance, that's often the first takeaway. Yeah, so my brother Corey and I started doing guitars a long, long time ago, and over the years nickeled and dimed our way into actually having a full-fledged guitar company, and we were always just trying different things. And my brother was really he was the impetus behind a lot of the advancements, truthfully. But I remember sitting around and he would be reading a book on acoustic physics, and we would start having discussions because he was a drummer like yourself. And so as we began thinking about the percussiveness of the guitar, we were thinking about it like a snare drum head. Why would you take weights and set them all over the head and cut a big hole right in the sweet spot? So sound of the guitar being proportionate to movement, the flexibility of this tone generating membrane was very important. So we felt like, what can we do to unencumber this top to do its job better? So we did a handful of things. We took the fretboard from being glued to the surface, we cantilevered it. We transferred the load of this 180 pounds plus or minus of string tension, transferred that load to a tailpiece, moved the sound hole from the top to the side, and lightened up the bracing structure. And that's why it looks weird.
Yeah, but it's got a great sound,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely beautiful. Form and function.
Form and function.
Now, I understand that we're here not for your guitars today. You have become a pipe maker.
Right.
And from what I see, quite a master pipe maker. And this, again, is form and function.
Right.
We're not suggesting that anyone start
Sure.
smoking, but we are suggesting that there is beauty and great craftsmanship in taking an item and forming it so that it's a work of art. As a child, you probably were already seeing a future of finding form and function together. What was kind of the trail that led you to pipe making?
I kind of needed something to do because I left the guitar company and I didn't really know what I was going to do. I knew I would be making something. I'd been thinking about getting into furniture, which I've thought about for a long time actually, and now I'm actually, as of today, I'm starting to do more furniture, which I have always loved. But the pipe making was kind of a strange, out of nowhere transition for me. I didn't even know that that was an occupation. I had no clue that people made expensive artistic pipes until another pipe maker showed me and said, you should do this. So that's kind of how it happened, by accident, basically.
So how did you learn to make a pipe?
So I've had several pipe makers through the years really just take me in and very kindly show me how it's done.
Well, the Danes are the noted pipe makers.
They are.
Did you study?
I did. There were two particular Danes that really gave me a lot of their time and have just been very encouraging and helpful. One, his name is Tom Eltang. He lives in Copenhagen, and another named Teddy Knudsen. And I studied with him. He lives part-time in Italy, and I studied there with him back in 2013. And their influence on pipe making is nothing short of prolific. Their styles, their individual styles are very different from one another, but they've left an incredible mark, and just the ability to work with them and glean from their styles has been something that's definitely put me in a place where I can succeed.
Well, Grant, this looks like any other woodworking project when you look real close. You got drawings, and you got templates, and you got materials. So how does it all go together to make a pipe?
Well, there's lots of different ways. The traditional pipes of old that our grandfathers smoked were very simple, and they didn't have a lot of bells and whistles. But in the artisan world, which is kind of the place that I live, they're a little bit more ornate sometimes, and definitely not standard. So I usually start with an idea. I don't always sketch my ideas, and truthfully, some of the nicer things have come out of just nowhere. I'll sit down with not a thought in my head, and I start at the shaping wheel, which we'll see. And I begin shaping and shaping, and it either turns into sawdust or it turns into something that I think would be a nice pipe. But whether it happens that way or not, I usually do at least try to start with an idea that I've had, and I'll put it on paper. Sometimes it turns out to look like that, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, the wood itself is unique. This is not anything I've found growing
No,
around here.
Definitely not.
So tell me about it.
So it's called briar. It is a burl. It's the root ball of a small kind of a scrub brush type of a tree.
Where do you find them?
It's only in the Mediterranean. So pretty much any outcropping, foothills areas of the Mediterranean regions, they'll grow this stuff. Algeria, Corsica, Greece, Spain, France.
Why use this?
This stuff, the properties, the density, the weight, there is something about this that people long time ago decided this is going to hold up to lighting. Essentially, you're lighting a fire inside
a piece of wood,
right?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. So this stuff, it has the ability to breathe in a certain way that's interesting. The qualities of this piece of wood actually play a part in how well the tobacco burns and how that smoke experience is received by the person smoking. So it holds up to fire, for generations, lifetimes, and it's also gorgeous.
So what we have here is a bird's eye, and the grain looks to be extremely, straight or?
A lot of times it's straight. So you have what you call cross grain or cross cut, which is the flame striped straight grain pattern, and then you've got on the ends of that, those capillaries coming, starbursting out. That's the bird's eye of what looks like the burl. So you have typically in a pipe, you're the collector's looking for that, either the really straight grain or the bird's eye explosion. And the ones that really demonstrate that magnificently are the ones that typically get the real money.
Well, this is very interesting. What have we got here?
So bamboo, and when we use bamboo in pipes, we almost always use the root of the bamboo, because the root of the bamboo looks like bamboo, except it's underground. It's just there's more density to it, and it's going to hold up a little bit better. But in fact, I've even got some. This is called Buddha bamboo. It's this is something I harvested in South Carolina. It's just interesting stuff. You know, I like to try to use different materials, but most of this stuff, you know, I didn't come up with this. You know, this is stuff that's been used by guys before me for a very long time, traditionally in pipe making.
So a lot of times this is just a transition between what are the parts?
So the parts of a pipe are, you've got, this is your bowl or your chamber here. This is the shank, and then this is the stem or the mouthpiece.
So that's where you would use maybe something like that.
So in the shank, you know, I would have, for instance, this guy here. You know, I might have that bamboo there, bamboo shank on something.
And you've got to drill a hole through that.
Yeah. And there are lots of different ways to attach this. Some people use stainless steel tubing. Some people use carbon fiber. Some people have. There's a myriad of methods.
Well, it takes a lot of work to get down to this, and the lines.
So those are my drilling axes.
I see.
So in a pipe, you've essentially got three holes that you're trying to drill and connect. You've got a mortise here, and that is for the stem to fit into. Then you've got an airway, which is a 5/32 diameter is what I use, but it's a, you know, a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, and it connects to the bottom of my chamber. So I've got I draw my axes on there so that I can align all of those so that they perfectly line up, because airflow is everything in the pipe. You want, you know, you don't want turmoil in there. You've got condensation building up, and you've got lots of different weird little things that happen if the holes aren't the right sizes and they're not aligned properly. So the engineering on the inside is actually really important. It's the part that no one sees.
Well, there's function.
There's function.
It's got to function as a pipe.
Absolutely.
And then there's form.
Right.
So it has all the elements of building furniture, really.
Right, definitely. Yes. Yeah. You want it to work, and you want it to work well and for a long time, and you'd like it to look nice.
All of our lives have pages, and they turn. And you've built great guitars. You've been involved in the highest echelons of pipe making. And now you're, I understand, going to give something back.
I was presented an incredible opportunity. There's an organization called Narrowgate, and they are a program. It's a Christian discipleship program for young men between 18 to 25 who've just really struggled to figure life out. One of the components is giving these guys skills, teaching them craft, woodworking, leather work, metal work, and I'm actually trying to also introduce some other things, you know, electrical and plumbing and things that are just dying. There are trades that people don't know how to do for themselves or in the marketplace, and so the hope is to be able to bring an educational curriculum to Narrowgate now that's taking it a step above what they're currently doing. And currently they're already doing these things, but we're trying to really ramp it up and give these guys some real problem-solving skills, real design skills, real hands-on knowledge of tools and the way that they work. And building confidence, which is...
You know, there's nothing like thinking, I built that, I made that,
right.
I designed that. And woodworking can really improve your self-esteem.
I 100% agree. It's exciting, and it's exciting to see these guys' confidence grow, and these are brilliant young guys who don't know that they're brilliant. And so this whole process of them figuring out that their ideas are valid, that they can make mistakes and that it's okay, that they can learn from them. And that to me is the thing that's exciting for me. That's the reason I get out of bed now.
Well, and that is the Grant Batson legacy.
Yeah.
Coming up, we'll head back to Grant Batson's workshop and get a first-hand look at his pipe-making process. But first, edge veneering can be tricky, but Popular Woodworking magazine's David Thiel has some tips that will really stick. Stay with us, you're watching the Highland Woodworker.
I'm just an average, down-to-earth woodworker. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably about a 5. But one place I score a perfect 10 is right here, and I plan on keeping all 10. That's why I have a SawStop table saw. And there's more. Plenty of power, superior dust collection, and absolute accuracy. These features have made it the best-selling cabinet saw in America. Let Highland Woodworking help you put a SawStop in your shop.
Whiteside Machine Company has been in business for over 30 years providing customers with quality router bits. Fine Woodworking magazine has declared Whiteside router bits best overall and best value when compared against 17 other brands. No matter the router application, they have the type and profile of carbide router bit you need. When you put a Whiteside router bit to work in your shop, it is guaranteed to make you smile. Woodworkers count on American-made forest saw blades for smooth, quiet cuts every time, without splintering, scratching, or tear-outs. The famous Woodworker 2 is the all-purpose combination blade. But for special cuts, Woodworker 2s are available for cutting dovetails, for flat-bottom joinery. A 30-tooth blade is perfect for ripping, a 48-tooth blade for superior crosscuts, and a finger joint blade set. There is a perfect Forest Woodworker 2 for every table saw cut. Highland Woodworking has been a leader in woodworking education for more than 30 years. They offer all kinds of woodworking classes year-round, ranging from how to hand-cut dovetails and mortises to how to sharpen a plane or a chisel, how to build a cabinet, a chair, or a bookcase, or how to turn a wooden bowl. There are classes on wood finishing, French polishing, and even antique furniture restoration. For a list of upcoming classes that may interest you, just look in their catalog or go to highlandwoodworking.com.
Back in the shop with another tip, and this one's, well, it's a little domestic, it's a little woodworking. How about that? We've used veneer tape fairly often on different projects throughout the years, but sometimes we don't give you all the details on how to make sure that it sticks and holds and cleans up well. So we're going to take a minute to do that today. One of the first things to make sure is that the edge that you're actually putting the tape on is a good edge. As an example, if I flip this board over, you'll see that there's a burn mark here, and there's actually a divot there. A quick pass over the joiner will flatten this out, because if you don't do that, there's a very good chance that you'll have a hollow right underneath your veneer tape where that is. So you want to start with a nice flat edge, which we have done here. Mount it in a vise. You can actually do this laying flat on a bench. Just basically you want to be able to hold it still one way or the other so that it's sturdy. First trick, we have to get domestic. Basic standard household iron. Settings, medium warm, not full hot, because you can scorch the veneer if you want. I can smell it's already working. Trick, lick your finger. Hear that hiss? That means that it's hot. I can feel that it's hot. That's good. Now you want to size the veneer tape, and we're doing it on plywood. You could actually use this on MDF as well, but that's not usually how it's done. So we have veneered plywood with a rough open edge. We've got oversized veneer, and that's great. That's the way they sell it. This is a 3/4 inch piece. This is actually, I think, 7/8 overall. You don't need to work with the whole length of this coil. So what you want to do is make sure you've got some extra hanging over the edge, an inch, whatever. If you're really tight on material, then pay a little more attention. But what I'm going to do is slide a little more, because I'm going to break this other end off. If you come down here, you could try and cut it, but this is brittle enough that you can just basically bend it down with your thumb. It's snapped there, back and forth, and you're good to go. Now that gives us the length that we need. We're going to space it on here so that you can feel that there's something hanging over on each. Now, as long as you know that you're good down here and it's not going to move, then you can start ironing on this end. This is a little tricky. The glue on the back, let me show you this real quick too. The glue on the back heats up and it turns into a liquid essentially. So you've got a little bit of time before it starts to harden again back into the glue. But you don't want to have to move it around too much, or it could reduce the effectiveness of the glue. So we want to keep it fairly tight, and you want to keep the iron moving as you go. Lay it flat on there, and then just start to move. Don't let it sit in one place. See how I'm feeling down here with my fingertips to make sure that it's still covering? Now I can tell that the glue has started to melt underneath it, and I'm still checking. Yep, there's nice and sticky there. We're already good. The glue is already melted. Give it a little bit more, 1 or 2 passes. And now we want to affix that. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You could use a J-roller like this, or honestly a simple block of wood works well too. You want to do this while it's warm, before it's started to dry up. And once it's tight, you can use your nails, click along it. I don't hear any hollows. That means we've got a good attachment, but it's still warm. So we want to let it sit for about a minute, and then you're good to go, and we'll show you how to clean this up. All right, so our glue is dry, and I can tell by lifting up on this, it's very firm, and that's exactly what I want. Now, to clean this up, obviously we have overhang all the way around the edge of this. There are different tools that are sold with razor blades built into them that'll shear these right off. You could actually just go ahead and use an X-Acto knife and do the same thing, cleaning this off. But the problem is, that's a sharp edge, and this is a veneered surface. That makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't take more than just a little bit of a slip to destroy the side of this piece. So I'm not a big fan of X-Acto knives, because you can pretty much do everything you need to do with a standard square file. You need square edges, that's the important part, not a rasp, but a file, and it actually doesn't matter too much if it's a mill bastard or just a standard plastic cut, okay? You can use whatever you want. Now, let's go ahead and use our sharp edges again. We've got this piece hanging here. I'm going to take the file, lay it on here, and roll it over, okay? Now that's broken. Now be careful, because you'll have fibers in there. You don't want it tearing off. Give it a little bit of a bend, and then it'll pull down. The glue's on there. We're all good. Now, to clean that end up, you want to take the file, place it flat against that end, and only on the push, not on the pull, take strokes. That's pretty good. We're okay there. Now we still have material hanging off to the sides. Now what you want to do is we're going to hook the file, the edge of this file, right on that extra piece there. And this is almost running right up against that veneer, but not quite. What we're going to do is on the pull again, coming down, we're going to make a ribbon just like that with that excess. Now I'm not cutting deep. I'm just slightly running, and you'll see I'm at a little bit of an angle here. I've got my fingers keeping it just away because I don't want it flat. I want it a little bit of an angle. So I've got it like this, a little bit out, and just follow that ribbon on down the piece. Okay, got loose a little bit there. You can come back, a little more pressure, no problem. Piece of cake. Now, this is pretty good. You can see that the glue's still on there. You want to clean that up too. The trick here is not to go too far with the file. Again, we've got a little extra there. Maintaining that angle, we want to get most of it off. But you don't want to cut into that side veneer. Leave the glue there. You don't have to do everything with the file because that's what sandpaper is for. Once you get it close, then you come back with the sandpaper and finish up that edge. Now you're going to see that there's still probably a little bit of glue on there. The sandpaper may not have gotten all of it, but that's okay. Go a little closer with the sandpaper. Don't go too far. You don't want to burn into the veneer, but a little bit of denatured alcohol, clean that off too, and then dry up and you're good to go.
Still ahead, the process and precision of pipe making with Grant Batson. You're watching the Highland Woodworker. Highland Woodworking stocks a wide selection of Rikon power tools, known for their innovative design and rugged durability. Highland has sold thousands of Rikon's industry-leading bandsaws with sizes to fit every woodworking need, from the compact, affordable 10-inch model to competitively priced 14 and 18-inch models. Shop us also for Rikon's reliable planers, lathes, and professional low-speed grinder, all with an exceptional 5-year warranty. Rikon Power Tools.
A lot of folks say they just don't make tools like they used to anymore. I don't know, I suppose that's true in some cases. But the good stuff is still out there. I'm talking about the tools that are just a pleasure to use, that are well designed to get the job done quickly and efficiently, and are made to last so they'll get passed on to the next generation. Whatever tools my grandkids use, I know one thing, they'll be keeping them Tormek sharp.
For 35 years, Lee has manufactured the world's best joinery jigs. From our award-winning dovetail jigs and mortise and tenon jigs, to newer innovations like router table jigs. Easily add strong, beautiful joinery to your woodworking pieces, like half-blind dovetails, box joints, mortise and tenon joints, and through dovetails. Lee, simply the easiest and most versatile router joinery jigs.
Sculpture That Rocks is my new show. Watch it at charlesbrockchairmaker.com. I'm going to show you how to attach this beautiful arm at an angle to the back leg. And my tool wall modules helps me organize my shop. Jeff Miller is an amazing furniture maker, designer, and artist. We will visit with him in his Chicago shop. If you can't make it to Highland Woodworking in Atlanta, Georgia, you can shop online at highlandwoodworking.com. They're great at getting what you want to your shop quick. Moment with a Master is brought to you by Highland Woodworking. Fine tools since 1978. Let Highland's legendary wood slicer resaw blade help make it easy for you to get great results sawing thick lumber into thinner boards. The wood slicer is designed to cut much faster, smoother, and quieter than ordinary bandsaw blades. You'll be amazed at how smooth a surface you'll get with a wood slicer. Its variable tooth pattern greatly reduces noise and vibration. Order a wood slicer from Highland Woodworking for your bandsaw today. Well, Grant, I do sculptured furniture, so I'm very interested in the process that you have for sculpting this hard briar. Can you show us?
I can. What I use is a very powerful motor with a 7-inch diameter 36 grit sanding wheel.
That's pretty much like rocks on a piece of paper.
It's, and you want to definitely keep your knuckles away from that thing. It's flying fast and hard, and you can really, in no time, get this thing down to almost finished shape.
Well, Grant, on most of the pipes, there's some turning involved.
Most traditional pipes were turned. The Danes came in and they began doing what's known as freehand. And freehand it's exactly what it sounds like. They're, instead of putting it on a lathe, they're just taking a block of wood and they're just grinding away and shaping away. And it gave birth to this artisan pipe movement that we benefit from now. But turned pipes are still some of the most popular today and most elegant. They're some of my favorite for sure.
Grant, I know that the turning has got to be very difficult. You have something special you use.
I do. It's called a metal lathe. Most wood guys, I guess, don't think of using a metal tool for turning, but in pipe making, it's become a pretty standard thing. The precision that it affords is incredible. You can set tapers and feed in and feed out to, within thousandths. And so I love my metal lathe, and I've also designed a 2-jaw chuck that allows me to lock in the pipe and pivot on the axes that I need it to be. And it really allows me to perfectly surface and bore and drill and even shape sometimes the pipe.
What kind of material do you use to make the mouthpiece?
Good question. So the mouthpieces, or stems as we call them, are, for me, made of German ebonite, which is essentially a vulcanized rubber. There are 3 companies in the world that I know of that make this stuff. 2 of them are in Germany, and they do the best job. So traditionally, it's black. This is how it comes. It's in rod form. The interesting thing is I've had a lot of people come and tour my shop, and they're always surprised to see me hand filing and shaping the mouthpiece. I get that, but someone has to make them, right? So, if you're making high-end products, you kind of want to make it all. And so we get it from Germany, and they make it in all different colors and different diameters. Black is the most traditional. I like to have fun with wacky colors. These are all, these are some limited editions. I've got camouflage colors. I've got bizarre stuff. For the airflow and for comfort, you kind of need a hole that tapers gradually, but it elongates so that you'll see on one of the finished pieces the tapered button, which is the part that goes into your mouth. It's kind of flattened out. So, but that volume needs to be the same. It needs to not be bottlenecked. There's a technique that I use. I have a small drill bit that I actually have to run the mouthpiece on at an angle and feather that thing out so that it actually flares the inside of that hole, because I want the volume of that to be the same, but I've got to flatten it. So once I've drilled it out by hand, then I'll file and I'll sand and I'll buff the insides. I want the insides as smooth and shiny as I want the outside, because you'll build up all kinds of funky, nasty stuff on, if you don't sand and polish the insides. It's kind of tricky. When I first started making pipes, I ruined about 20% of my stems because I just went too far. You know, it's you want about 150 thousandths of an inch between your teeth, and if it's more than that, it's just uncomfortable. But you've got a slot, a hole in there that doesn't leave you a whole lot of room.
Well, thank you so much, Grant. This has really been an eye-opener. Pipe making is something that I can see a lot of woodworkers getting interested in doing something like this.
Well, it's been a pleasure for me, certainly an honor. Pipe making is, of all the woodworkings that I've done, and I've done a lot of them, this is by far one of the most rewarding for me. So I appreciate the opportunity to share it with you.
Well, we thank you so much.
Yep.
If you're passionate about woodworking and your work requires the very best, let me show you something really fantastic. Workbenches by Sjobergs of Sweden. Let me tell you why you need one in your shop. All the great hand tools in the world will perform to really no avail unless you have a bench that provides great holding power, a flat reference, and is very stable. Everything you need is here in a Sjobergs bench. Fit, finish, and stability. Now let's examine the features and benefits of this beautiful bench, and you'll understand why Sjobergs has no peer. This model is the Elite 2000. It is over 76 inches long, and like all Elite workbenches, it is 23 5/8 of an inch wide. Also available is the big model 2500, which is over 96 inches long, and the 1500 is 60 inches. The top is made of beautiful, straight grain, knot-free European beech, tongue and grooved for maximum stability. The middle of the top is 3 1/4 inches thick, and the apron is a massive 4 1/4 inches thick, which will provide the perfect surface to serve as a reference for your work. The vices are huge and provide maximum holding power for your work, and as you can see, they are coplanar with the workbench top. The massive Acme screw is smooth as silk and is low enough as to not interfere with the board held in the vise. There is almost no racking when the vise holes work held to the side. The 1-inch diameter bench dog holes are every place you need them, on both legs and strategic locations all over the top for clamping your wood or project. The storage cabinet is a great option. It provides handy storage on top and a cabinet for tools, as well as drawers with full extension slides. And with a working height of 35.5 inches, if that's not tall enough for you, you can get some optional extensions that can raise that height. And speaking of options, there's a metal anvil that you can attach to the bench, and there are various hold downs and other options available. You can get yours at Highland Woodworking. I recommend Sjobergs of Sweden workbenches. Improve your woodworking experience. Sign up for Wood News Online, a monthly newsletter showcasing the latest news, tips, and classes Highland Woodworking has to offer. By signing up, you'll receive the latest episode of the Highland Woodworker, special store promotions, and Wood News Online delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up today. That's all the time we have for the show today. But check us out on social media and come back to see us next time on the Highland Woodworker.